Back to the Verdict Studios here on Channels Television, broadcasting out of our global headquarters in the nation's commercial capital, Lagos, Nigeria. And as we have been saying to you all day, we've been here and we'll be here until we start getting the results. Well, I think we need to also emphasize that this time the election, the results process of the election is not going to be quite like it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. There's not going to be any really big announcement from the INEC Collection Center in Abuja with Professor Yakubu sitting and cross-examining the recs. The announcement for the governorships are going to be made in each of the state capitals. And then, as you heard Professor Abdul Ghani Raji of Ogun State say a few moments ago before we took the break, that we will have announcements at each of the locations where the state assembly seats are. And then the governorship election results will be announced in the state capital where you have the state office of INEC. So it's not going to be one big announcement from any one location. There will be simultaneous, possibly, election results announcements from across the 29 states that held governorship elections and from the 36 states where state assembly elections were taking place, and then, of course, from the Federal Capital Territory, where the area council elections
and lots of people have said that perhaps the presidential announcement should be decentralized rather than all the states having to go to Abuja.
We'll look at this and see if this one is going to be faster than the national announcement that indeed took place.
And now, of course, we'll keep tabs on all these announcements as they come in. We'll put it out there for you to know. As you know, news is our business.
Indeed. It's not just our business, it's our calling. And in that respect, Nelta, of course, they can keep up to date with us.
Yes, you can keep up to date. We would really like to engage you. We have, I mean, you've seen some of the pictures that have come in. We do have some tweets that are also coming in here. People are collating them, and you see most of them on poll stream. We try not to use
and actually, the tweets are scrolling, if you know.
Some of them are scrolling as well. So we want to ensure that you know that we're engaging with you. So send pictures, send videos with the hashtag The Verdict or hashtag 2019 election.
And there's something you want them to put up as well.
If you can take a picture, you know, something like that. You hold it up with my expectations from my whatever, whoever is being elected. Just put my expectations and send to us.
From your candidate.
Hashtag from your candidate.
And then you hold it up like this.
Hold it up. And then maybe in the text you also say what you expect. Maybe you could even put your expectations on that cardboard or paper and send with the hashtag my expectations. Tweet
without mentioning the names, without mentioning the political parties of the people, of those candidates.
Send to @Channels TV or send the verdict at channelstv.com.
And we also have an email for you if you want to send us messages as well. There you have it, the verdict at channelstv.com.
Yeah. So do that real quick and we'll put it out there. And we want to know what you think, how you voted with the hashtag I voted. Yeah, I keep forgetting that.
That's right.
As they always say, we're live on all platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook, on all our social media.
Take us
on our
with
website
you everywhere
as
you
well.
go, like
channelstv.com, youtube.com/Channels Television. We're live on Twitter, we're live on Instagram, we're live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And take Channels with you everywhere you go.
Indeed. So that everywhere you go. But we still have the retired AIG here in the studio. And I know with the last question we asked him, Ladi, had to do with how to rebuild the force.
Yes.
So that, and he was the one that mentioned the gaps to make up for the gaps. So let's look at it this way. I mean, when we were on that break, I was just thinking, I said, okay, if you look at practically all the 36 states, they all have one group or the other, and they call them traffic management agencies. They are not part of the election process. They're not brought in to aid in the election process. So would decentralizing the police, as many will say, I don't want to use the phrase
don't go there, because you know we've had centralized, decentralized, then back again.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, would decentralizing the police so that the states have their own structures, would that help in any way to close that gap during the elections?
Well, I definitely know that.
Again, I'm sorry, AIG Colquick, I have to interrupt you at this time. I understand that we can go to Rivers State now, where Dobra Timmy Wood is at the INEC Collation Center in Port Harcourt. Dobra?
Hello.
What can you tell us? You are there. There you are. What can you tell us about what's happening? We can see from behind you that the hall is empty at the moment. When are you expecting activities to start?
Okay, I'm at the State Collation Center in Rivers State, and no collation activity has started at the moment. Right now, we're waiting for the collation officers, for observers of the election to come. Everybody is here. The hall has media personnel here, but every other person that is part of the collation process is not here yet. So we're waiting. But I can tell you about what has happened so far from 8 a.m. In fact, we set out before 8 a.m. From 6:30 a.m., we've been out on the streets of Rivers State, different local governments visited, and we've seen that the roads were clear. There was minimum movement of people, as everybody we saw on the road had something to do with the election. But before I go into that, let me tell you something interesting that happened in the course of our coverage. Now, at Falga local government, that is in Port Harcourt. Now, this is, let's say, in celebration of the International Women's Day yesterday. Now, at the end of the voting exercise, collation had taken place, result sheet already written. Then somebody came, snatched this result sheet, squeezed it strongly, and was about leaving the premises when the women there pounced on him. They practically pounced on him, held him to the ground, and ensured that they got the result sheets out of his hand. That is a victory for women, as other men were just standing by and observing, but these women ensured that the right thing was done. That is something, that was one of our highlights. But then again, I have lots of things to tell you, but I have a guest with me. He is the head of voter education and publicity in Rivers State. It's Mr. Edwin Enabo. Mr. Edwin Enabo.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Please do come close. Okay, awesome. How are you doing?
Well, fine.
Okay, in the call, we noticed that there was a low voter turnout in Rivers State. Now, do you think INEC, that's Rivers State, do you think on your part you did everything to encourage Rivers people to come out and vote?
Yes, taking into consideration what we had at the last election, cases of violence and insecurity, which dotted the local government, this whole state, we embarked on another round of intensive voter education to make sure that we have enough persons coming in to vote. And we had been given assurances by the chairman of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security that they will be on top of the situation this time around. And this is the message we also carried out to the people. So unfortunately, today, they came out. The turnout was not very low, as you said. The turnout was quite high, but the people were discouraged and had to return as a result of the extreme violence that we had almost throughout the whole state.
Okay, now we're at the collation center. Do you think, like, when do you think this collation exercise will start? Because people are anxious to start seeing results churning out of Rivers State.
Yes, we are still expecting the electoral officers to come in. You see, many of them are either being held hostage in their local government areas, or they are unable to come to this place. We have had to send new teams of security officials to try to bring them. And I'm sure right now, even the registration, the area collection is yet to be concluded in many of the local government areas because of this state of insecurity occasioned by the massive presence of men in uniform, the army uniform and police uniform. So we don't know exactly who these persons are, if they are real and authentic officers or just persons, but we know that our officers are being held hostage in their various local government area offices by such people.
Mr. Nebo, we're speaking off camera and you were talking about this violence, and I was asking you that it is very important that we don't just say there was violence, that we actually give examples of where this violence actually was perpetrated. Yes. So do you have areas, wards, rack centers, polling units where you had this violence?
Let me just give you a local government area. Ahoda West, for example. The EO had to run for his dear life to this state office, and we practically had to force him to go back because he was even ready at that point in time to put in his resignation as a result of the insecurity in that local government area. The local government has 12 registration areas, and from the inception of the election today, 7 materials meant for 7 registration areas were diverted by these men in uniform, as well as thugs and other persons, away from where they were meant to go to. And the other 3 were snatched from the presiding officers at the polling stations, leaving elections in maybe 1 or 2 local government areas, registration areas. So he now, feeling that there's nothing to be collected, came to the headquarters. But the collation officers had arrived, and these men in uniform are insisting that results be collated from where? And the electoral officer is asking from where, because those results were never generated from the polling units. So because of that, he came down to the head office, but with the intervention of the resident electoral commissioner and the commissioner of police, we had to tell him to go back, even at the risk of his life, because he vehemently refused to go back to that place and even wanted to resign his appointment on the spot. But he has gone back, and we have told him to go back and make a report of what happened there. You remember yesterday the national chairman made a statement that any result got as a result of duress will not be accepted by the commission. Right. So that assurance was given to him. Go back, give them the collation papers, whatever they have written, give us your reports, and then the commission here will take action.
Thank you, Mr. Nabo. Now, something interesting I have to tell you about Rivers State is that we've noticed this parallel news from the electoral officers and Rivers Indigene. Now, in Rivers State, we have our correspondents everywhere covering activities. And I went out, my colleagues went out, and what we saw, and from the visuals we've sent to you, we saw people come out, we saw people voting, we saw people not being intimidated. That's the visuals we have that we can tell you from Rivers State. This is what we're experiencing. We noticed that the military men were wearing so stern. They would ask you, where are you going to? As long as you show them your accredited pass, you are allowed to move. Now, that has been the feelers we've been having all day from every polling unit across the state visited. Now, surprisingly, as we're back in the collation center, now to say, oh, INEC has done an amazing job. Rivers was a success, at least let's say 90% success. Now we're getting these reports from INEC. Now, what we're saying is, for every report of violence sent, we will send you visuals to ensure that the public is not wrongly fed. For what we've seen, we sent you information that what we experienced in Rivers State, where people were ready to vote, and they stayed there, ensured that their votes counted. The area where experienced violence was when those women, in celebration of International Women's Day, had to pounce on that man and stop the snatching of the result sheet. Other than that, we do not have visuals to back these assertions that there was violence or widespread violence in Rivers State.
All right, Dobra, now in view of what, in view of everything you've said about the issue of not having visuals to back up some of the claims that are being made by various parties, we would like to ask you to ensure that you do some more consultations and interactions around to verify some of these things. And once you have the visuals that have been promised to back up some of these claims, if and when you do get them. Would look forward to having them. Thank you very much, Dobra Timiwood from the INEC Collation Center in Port Harcourt, River State. Thank you so much for joining us. At this point, AIG Colquitt, your parting words at this point, because we've got to close this segment. What would you look forward to as a way of ensuring that when next we are having a discussion such as this, about a process such as this, we won't be talking about these same issues?
Well, I want to believe that the current situation in which we are, in this country is an emerging democracy, and definitely issues of security are quite paramount to development of any nation. I want to advise that proper attention actually should be paid to security agencies, and the key of which is the police. The police needs to be enhanced. We need to build the capacity of the police, and of course, adequate funding and welfare should be taken into consideration. And having said that, I think we also need to ensure that we improve on the training and the capacity building of the police for better efficiency.
Okay, it's at that point that we'll have to say a very, very big thank you to Assistant Inspector General of the Police, James Olatunji Colquitt, for joining us in the studio. One can only hope that the security situation that we keep having to focus on time after time in the electoral process itself. Again, the very last situation report that we just heard from River State, again, harkens to the issue of security. There are conflicting reports from various places about incidents or non-incidents and so on, and all these speak to the issue of security. So, and of course, you being a former member of what is referred to as the lead agency on security for election processes, which is the Nigerian police, we hope that as things go on, as you did point out, we would have improvements in the process as we go on. But for now, we'll be taking a short break, as we talked about wind down this segment. When we're coming back, it will be with Babajide Ogunsowo and the issue of voter turnout, what are the stats, as well as the election patterns and what to expect from the results, among others.
Not quite the results, not quite what to expect.
Okay, what to expect when the results start coming out.
That's right.
Thank you. Very important
You're
correction.
welcome.
That will be after the break.